Hi guys, I'll let you guys get yourselves set with your camera and your audio. I'm trying to get this live going. Let's see, do we have everybody?
Hi guys.
I am live. Okay, perfect. Hi everybody. If you want to join, if you want to jump on the camera, you're welcome to. If you want to jump on the audio, you're welcome to. Oh, Jen, I have you in two places, so I'm going to let you in again. I don't know. There might be two of you here today. All right. Hi, Jen. I don't know if you can hear me. If you want, you're welcome to turn on your camera or your audio. If you want to, it looks like I have you in here twice. So hopefully your stuff is working.
Yay! I got it to work. I figured it out.
I thought maybe you were having trouble because it signed in and then there was another one of you coming in.
I don't have my daughter around to help me out with this, so this is huge. Hi.
So much just like through this process of having to like do Zoom stuff through this. Sorry, my hair's caught in my earring.
We old farts can learn stuff too.
Yes, we can. How many of you, this has been your first or you're being exposed a lot more to Zoom now? Is everybody having that experience?
Yeah, we use Skype and Teams a lot, but I've never used Zoom. So this is the first kind of Zoom stuff that I've had to use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to use it a little bit more for sessions and things. Now I'm using it again. But for quite some time, I was just using like Skype or FaceTime too. But I like Zoom. I think Zoom is pretty great, especially for like groups like this. So we're going to dive in. So how's everybody doing? This is, since we have a nice size class today, I would love to just check in and see where everybody's at. If you guys have any questions or updates in terms of your journey, you guys have been awesome with the posting and what you're sharing and all of that. So does anybody want to share about like where they're at and if they have any questions?
I had a question about shuffling.
Okay.
So, what is your recommendation in regards to making sure cards are flipped right side up prior to a reading? Like if you were giving a reading to somebody, do you go through your deck and flip them right side up, or do you just leave them the same for every person, or how do you?
Well, that's
how do you do that?
I don't think I talked about shuffling at all, or maybe I did. I don't know, but no, I actually don't go through and do that. You know, I that would be for me, like to me, I just like it's a lot of energy, and I just kind of trust that spirit takes care of it. You know, in terms of that. Now, if you were just getting started and that was part of your intention, like if it helped you to feel like this is the cards being reset, you absolutely could do that. So it's really going to be a matter of personal preference. How does this feel to me? Does it feel reset? Does it feel like, you know, like cleared? So what I usually do to clear my deck is, so my deck will be as it is, you know, so it basically left in the way that it was. And I will just simply, to clear the energy, to reset the energy, take a crystal, and I usually will just kind of rub that over it 3 times and then knock it 3 times. Or some form of that, just like with the intention that I'm clearing the deck. So what that means is like, I don't want the person who I read before, their energy to still be attached to the cards.
Right.
And so essentially I'm like providing a reading for somebody that isn't even in front of me. So I personally feel like that is what I need to do to make the cards feel clear. Other people will take that. I can't burn sage here. Otherwise, I would do some kind of a sage clearing in between as well, because I really like the feeling of the sage or the Palo Santo to just clear the deck. But since I can't, I use my crystal and some form of a clearing crystal, and it helps me to clear it. But since we're talking about shuffling, because I don't really think that I covered that, like how to choose your cards, right? So in different decks are different. So let me show you guys. Like I have this deck, right? And this deck is, you have to really feel them to get a sense of it, but these cards don't like slide as nicely, right? Like these cards, like I can like easily get my cards to pop out when I'm shuffling, right? And see what the card is. But with these, as I'm shuffling through, it's really like more difficult to get that to happen. Now, sometimes I still feel more called to shuffle in that way. But usually with decks like this, what I will do, I usually set my intention for what my shuffle is going to look like before I pull cards. That way Spirit knows how to get the cards where they need to go, right? Like, so how long are you going to shuffle for? And this is where that, resetting the deck isn't always necessarily necessary, because it's going to get shuffled and the cards are going to go where they need to go. And I usually will have the person shuffle the cards, and then when they give them back to me, I usually will take any of the decks that I do, split it in half, turn one upside down, right? So that I'm reversing them, and do another shuffle until it feels done. Okay. So, just allowing that process, and you'll just kind of shuffle them until they feel done. How do I know? I don't know. I just know. But you guys are all really intuitive. You get a sense of when things feel done. Just honor it. It's just a matter of honoring it. And then what I do with this deck is I split it into 3 parts. So 1, I just split it where it splits. 2, 3. And I take the middle deck and I put that on top. And I've set my intentions for what my spread is going to look like. I have, got it all shuffled and everything. And then I just lay them down in order. So the top one going in the order of the intention that I intended to pull the cards. So that's one of the ways that you can lay down cards. If I can, my preference is to kind of shuffle and allow each card to individually come out if I can. And some days that deck works better with that than others, or some days I feel more called to do the split like I did. So I will set that intention before I go to shuffle them so that we can do it. But if you find like that you just do it the same way every single time, and this is my preferential way, as long as the cards slide nicely, you don't have to worry about that, because Spirit will know, oh, she does it the same way every single time.
Okay.
So
I'm really ritualistic in a lot of my spirit work. So like, would it be cool, like if I just, I'm sure it will be fine, but like every month or every couple weeks, I like do a deep, cleansing on all my cards and reorganize them.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of OCD.
but here's this is where you make your practice your own, right? I love little rituals and things like that. I love to put my cards out underneath the full moonlight and just like I love the ceremony of that. I love to, you guys hear me talk about, let Spirit know your plan, set your intentions before your client gets there, that kind of stuff. I love that ritualistic stuff. I love to have certain crystals out when I'm doing readings. So
yes,
and it's,
definitely.
It's not, just because I like crystals doesn't mean you guys have to have crystals as a part of your reading, but it's like whatever you feel pulled to do, I say do it. Make it your own. Make your, this is what sets you apart from other readers, and this is what people are going to connect with.
Okay. I just wanted to touch base.
Yeah, absolutely. So follow your flow, guys. Good question.
That's a really good question, Kelly, because it's stupid, but like just the noise that you make, Christy, when you're shuffling is like one of my favorites. So I've tried to like emulate just doing that, and like I felt different with like my angel deck versus like my Rider Waite deck, just because of the feel of those cards. Like the angel deck definitely moves differently than the Rider Waite card. So so it's a really good question, Kelly.
The angel deck is like the same size as this green deck that I have, the Akashic deck. Like you guys can see the difference, right? Like
they're huge.
You know, it's a lot more awkward to shuffle these big ones, although most of the decks that I have now are the big ones rather than these little ones now. But it takes a little practice to shuffle them. I've always loved, like, some people are just really amazing at shuffling and they can do all these cool things. That's not my thing, but like, if you can do that, make it part of like the production, you know, bring in the fun. Like Stephanie is saying, like, sometimes people will really look forward to that piece of it. There's comfort in that. You know,
I apologize. I have to go pee real quick. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'll be right back.
Does anybody else have like questions or updates or anything that they're finding themselves kind of feeling stuck with?
I think, you know, especially in the group too, we've had some kind of uncomfortable messages where it's like when you recognize that not all of this is going to be happy. And I've had that situation happen with one of my coworkers that has had some kind of tough life circumstances happen. Like, I know that's part of it, and like always, you know, the permission of reading someone before, you know, you do it. But I think, you know, and I think I've been kind of testing the water with that. Like, I think Chelsea had asked a pretty tough question, and I know Kelly has too, but like, how do you work through some of that when you're still like, I just feel like I'm still like elementary with like knowledge level, so I don't want people to take that as, you know, gospel, but just looking for kind of your advice on how do you handle some of those tough situations.
That's an awesome question, because it's like awkward as fuck. Right? Especially if the person that's sitting in front of you is like, oh my God, I met this person and they're this and they're all excited about it and they want to know. And you know, a lot of times I'll get an intuitive hit before I pull the card. So I'll just say, like, do you really like want to dive into this? And sometimes me personally, I'll just kind of intuitively feel into that first and then I'll pull the cards. But I do sometimes especially ask that if I don't get a great feeling about it. In fact, today I had a reading for a guy who was asking about a woman, and the feeling that I had it wasn't just like, no, I don't think this is your person. It was like run. Run. This is like, I was sick to my stomach to be in this person's energy. It was terrible. And I don't have to deliver messages like that a lot, because remember, we're setting intentions, helpful, healing, preventative. And so, you know, it usually is, that means if a message is coming through, it's a message that this person needs. So, you know, I will deliver the message. And I always like to say, take what speaks to you, take what connects to you, leave the rest, right? So if this doesn't make sense to you, I'm human too. You never know, you know, like there could be a mistake here, or, you know, I could be interpreting it wrong. So especially if somebody's like upset or something, you know, so take what connects for you and leave the rest. But so many times in my experience, people have come back and have said, thank you so much for that. That helped to prepare me for what happened. And I feel like it helped me to get through it. And I felt like it was the message that I needed. It wasn't the message that I wanted, but it was the message that I needed. And it helped me to be able to navigate that or to move forward. So most of the time you're going to get that.
What about like, but when you first start a reading, say, you know, I need you to be open-minded. You know, if something might come up that you're not going to like,
Mhm.
or there might be something tough. Do you want to hear about it? You know, you need to ask yourself, do you really want to hear what might come up? Because if you would say, you know, I set the intention of helpful, healing, preventative, so that's what's going to come out. So basically,
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe tell them something is going to be tough, but it's going to be something you need to hear. And I
Mhm.
need to know if you're prepared for that, basically.
Yeah.
Would that be?
Absolutely. Yeah. You could lead with that. And you could, while you're talking about the message, talk about some of the things that I'm talking about, right? Like how sometimes the message isn't necessarily what we want, but it's what we need. And I think that it'll make sense to them as they allow it to process a little bit. So I'll kind of cover stuff like that with them as well. But you know, it's interesting because sometimes we're uncomfortable delivering the message, but there have been a lot of times where I've been like uncomfortable to deliver the message, and the person was like, no, thank you for being honest with me. That was exactly what I needed to hear. You know, thanks
They're
for not
looking
like
for guidance.
yeah, like I'm here for
Yeah.
guidance. I don't need you to like, you know, sugarcoat it or you know, tell me that my feeling is wrong about this. Or they'll say, you know, I had a feeling about that, but it wasn't something that I wanted to believe. But this is something, it has helped me to understand. Right. So I usually trust that if that's coming through and this person has given you permission, that there's a message, there's a benefit to the message there for them. And you know, like, and feel that out accordingly, you know, as you're going into the message. If that feels like, wow, this person really isn't handling this well, and you know, like they really seem to be struggling with the message, you may be mindful about not continuing with the message. You know, you might keep it short and sweet with that, deliver the message, but not keep going with it if that feels like just too emotional in that time. And maybe you like leave that open, like if you ever want to explore this again, let's check back in. But it seems like you're really emotional right now. It seems like this is really tough right now.
Okay.
But you'll find it's interesting because you'll find that people will get emotional anyway. I can remember I had, before I ever well, I had learned about tarot back in high school, but never really learned about it. And this was several years back before I started to relearn about it, I had a coworker who would offer on breaks to do a tarot reading. And I remember she did one for me. And I was just like, oh my God, this is so much fun. And I'm so excited about it. And she hit on some stuff and I didn't expect it, but I got so emotional. I just wasn't prepared for like the level of depth that it provided. So you might find that too, like that some people feel a little uncomfortable, like, holy shit, like this is for real, you know? So you might also be dealing with that, but you'll kind of learn how to deal with it. It's really about us supporting each other and helping to guide and following your intuition as to like, how do I help to support this person through it? Is this just you know, it wasn't necessarily a situation where I needed to be calmed down or something. It was more like, wow, these are really messages for me. And this is, you know, we were acknowledging some things that had happened, and let me let Rachel in. And it was just like I was processing it, but it was actually a really healing thing for me. So you may find yourself also helping people to heal through the process. It's really incredible what tarot can do and what giving people readings can do. Does anyone else? Hi, Rachel.
Hi, sorry I'm late.
You're good. Does anyone else have questions or things that they're kind of finding they're getting stuck on right now? Okay. So I'm loving like seeing you guys post so many of your cards and stuff like that, and the interpretations of that. I think that that's really great. And so keep going in on that. This is just giving you guys the practice that you need to keep going and to understand. Do you feel more connected to the cards 4 weeks in than you did the first week? Like, do you feel a little bit more comfortable with them? Do you feel like you're working with them, understanding, getting a feeling from them, even the ones that you don't know yet?
I have to say, I've learned a lot from you guys, because it seems like by the time I get to post on this stuff, you guys have already answered the stuff. I'm like, that's what I was going to say, you know? And it's like, I feel like I'm just like, there's nothing left to say. You guys have all said it. And I pulled some cards the other day. I was having an issue and I pulled some cards the other day and I was going to post them. I ended up not doing it, but I just thought this, you guys are just such a good group that it was really, there's nothing left for me to say.
Well, but that's a great thing when it feels like there's nothing else for you to say, because you guys are kind of all tapping into the same energy, right? And what I'm going to be doing, by the way, this week is I'm going to be posting cards, but I'm going to be posting cards with intention, right? To kind of add some energy to it, like with a specific focus or a specific intention. So we're going to that should help to expand upon that a little bit more. But what I really encourage you guys to do is to take a look at the cards and do your best to avoid looking at the comments underneath. Do your interpretation of it and then look at the other comments. I think it'll help. It really is hard to jump in after there's like 5 comments and they're all really similar to what you would say. But we can learn from one another by reading through the comments. But I also think it helps you to just kind of be in your flow and to not be influenced by where everybody else is at with that, because it's really easy to do that once we have, especially as you see themes developing. And sometimes you might have something totally different come through too, and that's just another perspective. That's just another look at the energy, and that's great too.
I should have posted what I wanted to post, because I was thinking that you guys would have been able to, to help me through that. So yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm looking forward to the thing with the intentions too, because like you were talking about coming up with, like if something bad comes out, like say you get the devil. I mean, the devil isn't necessarily bad, but say with some other cards where it might be a bad thing, you could say, oh, well, are you dealing with a Capricorn? Or, maybe try to put a little bit of a different spin on it.
And I know you are a little bit more connected with astrology and things like that. So that's a perfect example of how you might come in from a different angle. Where you might be looking at it from more of an astrological perspective, or I've given the example several times of some people are more connected to the numbers. So somebody coming at it from who's maybe more connected to numbers, or a numerologist or something, is going to come through with some different messages, but similar messages too. So it's just really interesting, and we all are going to come at that from different angles and from our own interests and frame of reference. So feel free to do that. Feel free to keep posting your cards. I love that you guys are sharing. I love that everybody's jumping in. It's really great to see. And you guys are all very tapped in. So I'm excited. It's so fun when everybody gets it, because we can kind of just progress and we can move forward. So we're going to do cups today. I really love cups. I think for me, I've always really connected with the cup cards, and it's because what I've always been shown about my own energy is that I was created to be, an intuitive. I was created to be focused on the intuitive energy, right? And to me, that's what cups are, is intuition. It's intuitive energy. I very much connect them with relationships as well. So, and with with feminine energy, so it's a very feminine energy, the divine feminine. We talked about wands being the divine masculine, right? I think it's really easy to remember, because if you think just even symbolically, if you think about male versus female, we have wands and cups, so use that as a tool to remember that cups tend to represent more feminine energy. Wands tend to represent more masculine energy overall. So does that mean men and women? No, right? Because men can have feminine energy, women can have masculine energy, and we have blends of each. But when we think about feminine energy, we think about the divine feminine energy, the receptive energy, the intuitive energy. Sometimes that what we would connect with female energy, but not always. But so we have that energy. So when we're thinking about cups, when we're thinking about the feminine energy, we're thinking about flow and intuition, and very often the cups are going to be representative of relationships. as well. That's a big one. Oh, by the way, guys, I tried to post the handouts in the group, and it's like telling me that I'm not allowed to because it goes against the group standards. So I reported it. Facebook is being really interesting these days in terms of what it's allowing through and what it's not. And so I'm going to try again later. I tried to post that 3 times today, and I did like dispute one of the claims with it. So I don't know what's going on with that. I even tried to change the name of it. But I was kind of like, this is my group and I've been posting them every week. I'm a little confused about that. But if that doesn't work, I'll find another way to get those to you guys, like to send those out in email or to send those out in Messenger or something if it'll allow it. So you guys can have those. But if you guys like, I'm hopeful, I'm setting the intention that there won't be any other issues with like posts within the group. Has anybody else had an issue with posting in the group or no? Okay. I just thought it was very strange. So actually, before we dive into cups, I have at the top of this, I would love to kind of explore, and this isn't something that you have to do every day for yourself, but this is something I want to kind of like work on expanding in terms of the numbers of cards. So you might stick to like 3 cards for a lot of your days of the week, but you might expand out to a 5-card spread. Excuse me, as like we progress more, or on some days of the week, maybe one day of the week you feel more pulled to do 5 cards. I encourage you to do that, because the more cards that you have, the more that you can begin to get a better sense of the energy, have more information, right? And you also can see how the cards are interacting with each other and get a better sense of that. So I included in the handout just some examples of like 5-card spreads that you could do, but I really encourage you guys to do your own spreads, to create your own spreads, because at the end of the day, when you create your own spread, it's just going to connect for you. It means that it works with your brain, right? So you're going to remember the positions of the cards. You're going to just feel really connected to that spread. So you're going to read it better. It works better. So I think ultimately finding the spreads that work for you, or the spreads that you feel called to use. So I use different spreads based on a feeling, or based on what I feel pulled to focus on, or pulled to do with that. So you're going to maybe find yourself mixing it up a little bit too. So you can create your own spreads. You can, have something that's already set. So some examples of that would be like the situation, the challenge, guidance about that, what to focus on, and what's the outcome. You know, that would be one example. You could do past, present, future, the reason that this is happening, and the future, like the potential for it. You know, so if somebody's asking for, that would be a great one if they're asking about, is this something I should consider in my life, or this is a decision I should make, or whatever. What would happen if I make this decision? That would be a great spread for that. You could do one that's acknowledging where you are now, what the next step is, what the obstacle is, what the strengths and resources are, and the potential outcome. I really personally like that one, because I don't find it to be overall all that helpful to focus too much on the past, unless I feel like that's important for some reason. You know, I like to start with the present and kind of build upon that, or the more recent present. But it's totally up to you.
Sorry, I have a question. So when you do spreads, do you have to like set an intention for each order of the card, like past, present, future, or like you're saying 5, and each card means a certain thing? Or can you just do like, set the intention, I want 5 cards, and then just let them fall where they are, and then look at the story and how they combine together? Like, I think if you're doing it for yourself and you just have like, you already know your question in your mind, like, do you have to have a certain designated spread, or can you just have a bunch of cards and just kind of look at them and get a feel?
You can do both. So you can have that, and sometimes in practicing, especially if you're reading for somebody else, it's helpful to have the specific positions because you're still learning, you're still growing, you're still trying to get a sense, okay, what does this card in this position mean? And like as you're doing that, you can even, by the way, like throw down additional clarifying cards like we talked about last time. So, you know, like for example, if you pull a card for the obstacle and you're like, I'm not really fully understanding this, or this doesn't quite make sense to me in connection with the question, you might throw down 2 or 3 clarifying cards to give you a better sense of that energy so you can build upon that. But you can also just lay the cards down and try to get a feel for, what does this mean, right? Is it a progression? Is it just, you know, different information about this question? In fact, I throw down cards like pretty, I don't want to say haphazardly, but like I where I don't really necessarily have a plan because I feel it out after it's been thrown out. Or I'll have some cards here and then a position over here that kind of means future or what we need to know or what the theme card is or whatever. But overall, there isn't necessarily a form or a structure to it. Like a lot of times, if you guys have seen me do my weekly tarot readings, I don't necessarily have a structure to that or even a specific number of cards that I pull. I pull till I feel done. And sometimes it feels like that's more of a progression through the week. Sometimes it feels like these are your messages for the whole week. Sometimes some of them feel like more like theme cards. So I just base it off of what it feels like.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. And so then you can create your own as well. I actually think you guys will like doing the 5 cards because, like I said, it gives you a little bit more information as well. So especially like if you pull a card and you can do the 3 cards, right, and then pull clarifying cards, because if you pull a card that you're kind of freaking out about or you don't understand, pull some clarifying cards with it. Or as you guys are practicing in the group, that's something that you can do as well. If you're, you know, if you guys are opening it to like getting feedback, you pull your cards and then you're asking, hey, I pulled this card. I've seen that happen a lot where people are like, I pulled this card, but I don't really understand what this means for me. You guys could essentially pull like a clarifying card or a couple clarifying cards, share that in the group underneath and say, this is what I got. So this is what I'm feeling called to say in connection with this, or this is what I'm feeling like it's about. So yeah, try that. See how you like those. You never have to go to 5 cards, but sometimes, like I said, it's nice to have a little bit more information and to be looking at more cards. So we're going to talk about cups. As one might imagine, it is connected with the element of water. In fact, some of the decks that are based on the elements it'll be water cards. Does anybody have those?
Yeah, the angel deck I do.
Yeah, the water. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So those are cups. So it's connected with all the water signs: Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. For me, again, it really represents relationships or the heart for people. So a really key word is relationships, and it doesn't have to be romantic relationships. It can be just relationships, connections, our social life, that kind of stuff, or intuition, feminine energy. It can be when you think about that feminine energy, emotional, sensitive, intuitive, nurturing. It can sometimes represent addiction. There are some cards, and you'll see them as we go through, really seem to represent sometimes addiction for somebody. So if you're pulling a lot of cups, and especially if these specific ones, you might begin to get a sense that maybe we're dealing with some kind of an addiction issue here, either for that person, the person that they're asking about, or whatever. Sorry guys that I'm like talking with this throat lozenge in my throat, but like I've literally for 2 months been dealing with strep throat on and off, and my throat is an absolute mess. So it's just so painful for me to talk. So I'm trying. It's like, hopefully I'm working with a naturopath now, and it's finally starting to turn around, but I just can't believe how much work it is to like just use my voice. after all this time. So hopefully
Well, it's not like you don't talk a lot during the day.
What's up?
It's not like you don't talk a lot during the day with all your
Right.
therapy sessions and everything. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been trying to like cut back a little just to kind of help with stuff like that. Like I didn't do my tarot video last night because I was just like, I'm done. Like my voice is just done. So I'm setting the intention about next week. Like we'll be in a better place now that I'm on this holistic medicine that seems to be making a little bit of a difference here. Anyway, so we're going to come back to cups. So what I want you guys to do is, as we're going through the cards, just like before, really think about how these connect to you. In fact, I would have you think about in your own life or in someone else's life, maybe where they have experienced the kind of energy that we're talking about on this card. So what this will do is it'll help to personally connect you to the cards and give you a better sense of like, oh yeah, like you'll remember it more as we're going through if you can connect it to your own personal experiences. And also as we've been practicing, so you might think about like, oh, have I pulled this card so far, you know, and what did I connect to it? And you'll make those connections as well. What happened that day when I pulled that card, that kind of stuff. So we're going to start with the Ace of Cups. So my Ace of Cups, I really love this one. Can you guys see it? I can't tell if it's, I feel like there's a lot of glare. So we have a beautiful cup here that is overflowing. I always envision this to be like the hand of God reaching out, offering this beautiful cup with a dove in the cup, you know, these beautiful lotus flowers. So this is a very obviously positive energy, the Ace of Cups, right? All of the aces, in my opinion, really are, because again, I see that as kind of a mastery. So I will see this card showing up for people who have maybe done a lot of work in their relationships and are really doing things well, you know, where they've kind of have learned a lot. Maybe they're doing a good job at setting boundaries and opening their heart, and or they've grown a lot in regard to relationships, or they've learned to communicate really well. So just an improvement, a mastery, a leveling up in relationships. You know, if you look at the card, it's just such a cup overflowing energy, right? You know, so I kind of see it as like your cup runneth over. Do you guys all have like a cup overflowing in yours, or most of you? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so like it's kind of that energy, like you have so many beautiful, wonderful things in your life. Your relationships especially are feeling really positive. The dove for me representing peace, right? So you're just feeling really peaceful, really joyful, really abundant, right? When we think about my cup runneth over, I'm feeling like abundant. I'm feeling like I have everything that I need. This can represent love, can represent a really beautiful love relationship with somebody. So if somebody's asking me about a relationship with somebody else, I might, if I were to pull that card, I would see a lot of really great potential for that particular relationship, right? The Ace of Cups. If I were going in to have a reading done about somebody that I was really in love with, and I, you know, was wanting good news about that, I would be pretty excited if somebody pulled the Ace of Cups. Very excited, because really it's like, okay, like this is, I mean, this can be a soulmate card. This can be your ideal partner. This can also be about self-love. You know, I always like to talk about with cups, like that relationship with self as well, right? But oftentimes we don't achieve the Ace of Cups energy until we're in that place where we do have a certain level of self-love as well. So it might be that as well. You might feel like it's more like this person has really been working on themselves and doing the work on themselves. It can, you know, represent intuition, obviously, with this water, with the flow. with the cup. And just a fruitfulness, just an abundance, just things moving in a really positive direction. So it's such a positive energy when we pull this. When it's reverse, you know, I see this as being an empty cup. I see this as being the cup has been dumped out, right? So it's kind of the opposite. It's like feeling depleted, not feeling like you have what you need, feeling like you're in a one-sided relationship. You know, your cup isn't being filled up. Feeling like you are disconnected from people or socially, or feeling like you need to withdraw, that kind of stuff, or feeling misunderstood. So when that's reversed, that's what that can look like. Then we have the Two of Cups. So again, Two of Cups, if I was asking about a romantic relationship, or if I was asking about, for example, like a partnership of some kind, like a business partnership, or is this somebody that I want to jump on this project with, or is this somebody that would be a good relationship for me to start with, this would be a hell yes card, right? The Two of Cups is like, to me, my soulmate card, that with the Ace of Cups. So if you get the Ace of Cups in a spread and the Two of Cups in a spread, that is a hell yes, right? Like that is like, okay, this is a really great energy around this particular connection, this particular relationship. These are people who are really connected, who honor each other, who understand each other, you know, two parts of the same soul kind of energy. This is can sometimes represent a business partner who is kind of that ideal balance to the other person. You know, a lot of times it'll be the Two of Wands, but sometimes I do see Two of Cups show up for a business relationship, especially if there's a little bit more of a personal connection between the two people. This can also be like a friendship, or a deepening of a connection, a renewed connection within a friendship. You know, you might meet a soul family member, so it might not be a person, it might not be romantic in nature, but soul family energy. Although a lot of times this Two of Cups tends to be connected with either a partnership in some way or a romantic connection. So when that's reversed, you know, and I've pulled that, and I've said to people, like, this isn't, you know, necessarily your person. You might be learning a lesson from them. You might be teaching them a lesson, but this isn't something that I would believe to be, based on this card, your soulmate or that ideal partner for you, right? Especially if that's the question. It can also be like that there's some kind of an argument or a disconnection or a breakup, or like emotional battles or a separation, right? This could show up when somebody has recently separated from their marriage. Sometimes that will show up, or if it's maybe time for them to separate from their marriage, or to consider that. You never want to tell somebody, oh, you better go, you know, leave your marriage. You always want to like just offer support and the information as it comes through. But at the end of the day, we're never telling people what to do. That's really important that we don't do that. Again, that could be something that feels imbalanced within the relationship. Maybe one person is all in and the other person is not, when we have that Two of Cups reversed. So next one that we have is the Three of Cups. And this is like on mine, like we have three women who are just celebrating with their cups. Does everybody have some kind of like a celebration looking card? Yep. Okay. Kelly, I can't quite see. It looks like it is. Yeah. So we have the three women. Okay. So again, this is such a positive energy, right? Do you see how these are a little bit different from the wands? Like some of the wands, and by the way, some of the cups are tough too, but there's a lot of really beautiful energy here within the cups. I think I like them a lot. So this is very much exactly what it looks like. It looks like a celebration, right? It looks like being with your people. So when I said soul family, you know, sometimes this will come in when people are about to connect with or are deepening their connection with their soul family, with, you know, a deepening of connection. You know, sometimes this is really saying like you need some time with your girlfriends. You've been working too hard, or you've been out with your boyfriend too much, and you need some time with your girlfriends. But it can also just represent like a celebration, being around the people that make you feel happy, that you like to celebrate with. Man, couldn't we all use this energy right now? I could, you know, to just have that time with our people in person. I would love that. This can also represent like parties or celebrations or anything that you would connect with like a celebration. So like weddings, babies or baby showers, family gatherings, that kind of stuff is connected with the Three of Cups. When it's reversed, you know, this might be, okay, you're going out with your girlfriends a little too much and you're having a little too much, right? So this is one of those ones that can be like, you're either, you know, drinking too much, it could, or consuming too much. It could be, you know, you're spending a little bit too much time out having fun. And what are you running away from? What are you ignoring? What are you numbing yourself from? What are you, you know, like, are you putting your energy into the right things here? Taking a look at that, and how could that be improved? How could you put your energy into something in a way that's a little bit better for you and for your best life path? You know, because it's all about balance. So this is sort of the opposite of that. Overindulgence, it can be overspending. It, you know, forgetting about or ignoring your responsibilities. A need to like, for, if you think about like, so if this is like the going out card or the celebrating or the peopling card, right? This is sometimes like, you know, geez, like maybe you should just settle down a little bit and take a little bit of time to just be in your own energy, to be home, to be more relaxed. Like if I pulled this reversed next to the Hermit card, it's really like, or next to the Hermit card reversed, especially, okay, like I, you know, there really needs to be some time in your own energy to really reflect on things, to rebalance your energy, because the way the energy works is so many of us are energy sensitive. So we're constantly absorbing energy too. So sometimes like you just need that as well to be in that and to be in your own energy. So sometimes it's that when it shows up. And I also like to point out, like sometimes when I'm reading this card, I happen to notice all the pumpkins in there again. So like to me, that just feels like a harvest. That feels like I have everything I need. You know, so if there's a question about, am I going to be able to do this, or is this going to be able to work out? I feel like absolutely. And there's going to be, you know, that abundance is coming your way, or, you know, that you have what you need, or that the supports that you need will come through for you. It can be that kind of energy too. The next card that we have here is not as nice of a vibe. So we have the Four of Cups energy. So have you guys ever been in a situation where you're just, I know I've experienced it myself, where I'm just so focused on, you know, something didn't work out the way that I wanted it to. And I always imagine that this is somebody who, like, something didn't work out the way you wanted it to. And God is literally like shoving an opportunity in front of you. And you're so focused on, like, I don't say pouting to people, right? But you're so focused on pouting about the way that things didn't happen the way that they were supposed to, that you're missing something really incredible that's like basically slapping you in the face. So this can sometimes be a person, right? So you're so focused on a past relationship that you're missing like a person that God has put on your path for you to meet, but you're so focused on like this person from the past or your feelings or your healing from this past that you're failing to recognize the potential of what's right in front of you. I don't know how easy it is for you guys to see, but we have this woman or man, it's tough to tell, but I would say this woman who's like leaned up against a tree. She's got these 3 cups that are in front of her, and they're kind of like just plain cups. Ain't a whole lot special about them. They're all the same, right? And then we've got this like cup from God. I always say that's God's hand or the universe, whatever you want to call that, but like coming out of the sky, handing this incredible cup to her. But she's like got her eyes closed. She can't see it. Are your cards similar to this?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. So pretty similar. So she's missing it. She's not seeing it. And this is like, there's a gift that is trying to be brought to you that you're missing out on. This can sometimes be representative of somebody who is truly in a state of depression, right? And they're just not able to receive in the same way. They're not open to receiving. They're not open to like, they're just not mentally in that place to be able to do that. They might be kind of stuck in a rut or, be afraid of love. This will come in sometimes when they're afraid to open themselves up because these 3 cups in front of them were really disappointing. And so they're not prepared for this other cup that's trying to come through. And they're not prepared for this new relationship that's trying to come through. I mean, how often do we just like protect our hearts because we've been through so much in the past? So being open, and this doesn't have to be a relationship, by the way. This can be an opportunity, right? Like, so I've tried and I've tried and I've tried and I'm just so disappointed because it never worked out the way that I thought that it should. And so I've tried, and I'm not really open to the possibilities. Sometimes this is like you've tried to manifest something specific and it's trying to manifest into your life, but you're so focused on it has to be this way. It has to be this specific way. And when we get really focused on that, we can actually block blessings from coming to us. So you're blocking some kind of a blessing. So this is, I usually will say to people with this, look up, start to pay attention. Start to notice what's actually happening around you. Start to recognize that maybe if things didn't work out the way that you thought that they should, that there's a reason for that and that something better is trying to come into your experience. So be open, be aware, pay attention to signs and synchronicities. It can be that energy as well. Make sure that you're watching for that. So with the 4 of Cups, I tend to just read this kind of the same, upright and reverse, honestly, but sometimes this will be like new challenges that are coming this person's way instead of new opportunities when it's reversed, or a fear of being alone, right? I'm afraid that this person or this opportunity isn't going to come into my life. Stuff like that when it's reversed. Now, the 5 of Cups, and sometimes it's interesting because like sometimes like I'll pull these cards and they look sort of like a progression, right? It's really cool to watch how the cards can tell you a story. So sometimes these 2 cards will come together with that. So again, this is these 3 cups. Again, we have like these 3 cups that are tipped over that aren't seemingly that special. That's what I have in my card. And then we have 2 other ones that are with this person. I tend to acknowledge that this person is struggling with some things, maybe with past relationships, with the way that relationships have happened. That cup has been spilled, that has ended, but that doesn't feel very good. It's not really the greatest vibe, but this is normally about also moving forward, right? Like leave the cups that have been knocked over, take these 2 cups that are with you, right? She also has the 2 cups that are upright that are with her. Take what you have left and move forward, because your future is very bright. I always imagine that she or he grabs these cups and begins to set on this journey toward the castle. It's a journey toward something better. It's a walking away from these cups that have no more use in that life. So whether that's representative of past relationships, or, you know, past disappointments, past hurt, past emotions, it's a leaving behind of something with the hope of something better coming in. But there's a hesitation here, right? Like she can see the castle, but she's still a little bit hesitant. She's not, we don't see her on her journey, but this is like that decision. Are you going to take this journey? Are you going to move forward? Are you going to let go? Or are you going to keep yourself stuck here in this place to something that no longer serves you? So when we have the 5 of Cups reversed, it might be actually like a reconnection with an old relationship. I tend to not see this as a positive thing, right? Because the energy of these 3 old cups aren't necessarily a positive thing, in my opinion. Like it's already done, but it's a forcing. It's a reconnection and it's a forcing, and it very rarely works out well. But there might be a reconnection here. There might be some new chances here for something, but like I said, it's like new chances that I don't necessarily feel like always work out. This can be sometimes when it's related to family, because sometimes this is related to family relationships or past friendships, but a lot of times family relationships, it can be a looking back and a healing. You know, upright or reverse, this can be a healing. Like, okay, there's a forgiveness, there's a letting go. And when it's reversed, it might be, okay, we're going to revisit this a little bit because there is some benefit here to revisit this. Or when it's upright, it might be, there's not really benefit in going back to the past and communicating about that. But by letting go of this, you release yourself. And letting go can look different for different people. Sometimes it can be a forgiveness and a reconnection. And sometimes and a rebuilding of a relationship in a different way. And sometimes it can be a release and you know, taking that journey on to what's next. But this isn't, so often this is very much a message of it's time to move forward. It's time to let go in whatever way makes sense for you. Now, the 6 of Cups here is a very happy energy. I love the 6 of Cups. So 6 of Cups can come in. Somebody might ask about, you know, are children in my future? I'll pull the 6 of Cups a lot of times. This is one of those, yep, like, you know, it can be, there's another one that's a happy family card as well. But, you know, this can be in connection with children. This person might be wanting to know about their children. Like, are my kids going to be okay? You know, I'm going through a divorce. Are my kids going to be okay? And this showing up upright is saying, absolutely. You know, there's a lot of joy. There's a lot of peace here for them. There's a lot of happiness, a lot of happy memories connected to it. This can also be representing that person's childhood, right? Like some kind of nostalgia, remembering the past in a positive way, reconnecting with past relationships. This can be representing family, positive family relationships, positive childhood memories, that kind of stuff. Now, when it's reversed, that for me is about like a clinging to the past, you know, being too stuck on the past and what's happened. And again, there's a need to like figure out what you need to do to release it and to allow yourself to move forward. to allow yourself to no longer have that be impacting your present in the same way. Or, you know, it can represent that they're worried about their kids, and that's actually negatively impacting everybody. Because when we worry about people, we're actually sending shitty energy their way, right? So I sometimes will say, okay, let's redirect that. What is it that you want for your kids? What is the vision that you want for your kids? Can you imagine this image upright? Can you imagine what you want for your kids and what would make them happy, and what it would be like for them to be happy and healthy and joyful? And can you put that image in your head rather than focusing a lot on the worrying? Because the worrying does nothing positive for anybody. And that, you know, like that obviously is a journey that takes practice to learn how to not do that. But with some redirection, that can be a really powerful thing. Now, the 7 of Cups, to me, I don't know, it's always such a weird card to me, in this deck anyway. Like, we've got all these cups in front of this person, right? And we have, like, above one of them is like a floating head. And then we have a person with a cloth over their face, and a snake, and a castle. And then one of them is filled with jewels. One of them is filled with like leaves. One of them is filled with a red dragon. So whenever I see this card, I see choices. And some of these choices are better than others. Right? But it really is going to say to me, you have a lot of options ahead of you. So this could be people, right? Like if somebody is like, oh, should I start dating again? I'm going to say, okay, but prepare yourself, because you're going to be quite popular. You know, you're going to have a lot of options to choose from. And some of them are going to be better than others. So be mindful and discerning in who you are choosing. This can represent a decision that they're trying to make, and they feel like they have a lot of options, maybe too many options, and they're not sure what to do. And this is always a message of listen to your intuition. Your intuition is going to show you what options are going to be the best. What you know, what you should choose, and maybe it's not just one, maybe it's a few of them. You know, is there flexibility? Is there room to choose a few of them? Maybe you want to start a business, but you also really love your job. Can you do both? You know, maybe you just feel called to, you know, live one place and also live another. Can you, you know, is that an option? For some people it is. You know, so is that flexible? So 7 of Cups reversed is you know, like for me, it's like having a difficult time making the decision. I feel like when it's upright, it's like you feel like you have a lot of options ahead of you, but you're a little bit more intuitively connected. You're kind of leaning in one direction or another. And when it's reversed, it's like they don't know what choice to make, or they're making emotional choices. They're making choices from the ego, right? Instead of from the intuition. And that's never going to get them the best option. That means they're usually going to choose the fear-based options, or sometimes the logical options are the best options, are the ones that are in alignment with the that are in alignment with the intuition, but sometimes not. Sometimes our intuition really likes to push us out of our comfort zone. So you'll feel very afraid. A lot of times our intuition likes to push us out of our comfort zone. So you'll feel very afraid, but it'll also feel like the right choice. It's really interesting. So 7 of Cups, like they're having a hard time choosing. They might be losing touch with reality when this is reversed. Like they're just, you know, kind of all over the place. There might be issues with addictions, drugs, alcohol, hallucinating, seeing floating heads. I don't know. You know, this is such a weird card. I feel like I would draw it differently personally, but you get the idea. This can also be about like fantasies, and you're thinking about all the choices, but you're not going to end up like choosing anything. You're going to instead just avoid it. The next card that we have here is the Eight of Cups. So this is like really where on our journey, maybe somebody's really ready to let go, right? Maybe like they have participated in the same, look at all these cups piled up, and they're all the same, right? In the same different person, but same pattern within their relationships for a very long time. And they're just done with their own bullshit, or with these other people's bullshit, or both. And they're like, you know what? Like, I know that there's something amazing out there for me. Look at this beautiful little cup here in the sky. And I am willing to do the work. I am willing to go on the journey. I am willing to leave it all behind to find what's best for me. To be my best, to be in a relationship. So this is a very beautiful journey. This is somebody who's like really ready for that. You know, you're letting go of old relationships, you're walking away, you are just not even that emotionally tied to it anymore. It just doesn't have power over you anymore. And you're moving forward. And it might not be, again, relationships, but oftentimes it is. It might just be patterns. That could be the way that you've been doing things the same for so long, and finally you know what you want. Finally you know what the real vision is, and you're willing to go after it, even if it's not immediately in front of you. Like this guy is about to go on a journey, right? He's got to climb over a mountain to get to that new cup, to that constellation. So he's about to go on a journey. And he's cool with it, right? He's ready. He's moving away. This can be traveling, you know, this can actually be a physical move. Like you just have learned everything you could possibly learn in this particular area. And now it's time to move forward. It's time to move on. So it can be a moving on. It can be a leaving a job sometimes. It can be, sometimes it can be rejection, but I don't normally see it. I see this as a very empowering card, you know? And so it can be like, I'm done. I'm just done. And I need to move forward with this. And then when it is reversed, it's like staying stuck, you know? This is what I know, and I'm more comfortable in what I know. So I'm going to stay stuck here rather than seeking out the unknown, rather than trusting that God has provided me with the perfect partner, with the perfect opportunity, with the perfect situation for me, right? Instead, I'm going to stay stuck here in this fear-based pattern and not move forward because I don't know, because at least I know what this looks like. I mean, how many of us have done that in our lives? All of us at some point, right? Where we keep ourselves stuck. And so this can feel very hopeless. It can feel very depressed. It can feel like disconnected from like meaning. It can be very emotional, that kind of stuff. But I'm like really excited when I pull this up right for people, because it's like they're really getting it. They're really getting it. They're really clear on things, and they're ready to move forward, even if they're afraid. So the next one that we have here is the Nine of Cups. So this is a little bit of like of a celebration energy, right? Like he's surrounded with these cups, but there's not that same sadness that we felt with some of the older cards. Right? He's joyful. He's appears almost to be like, I don't know. I always think about this, like having that glass of wine at the end of a really great day. Like I'm just, you know, I'm not celebrating too hard, but I'm having my glass of wine. Maybe I'm going to invite some other people over to have a glass of wine with me. I'm just feeling good. I'm feeling happy. I'm feeling fulfilled. I feel like I'm living life with ease. I have, I'm feeling good about the relationships that I have in my life. He looks pretty content and comfortable. Now, when this is reversed, this oftentimes for me can mean addictions, so then I sometimes tell myself like, okay, like he isn't inviting friends over, like these are all his glasses of wine, right? And he's going to tear through them. So that sometimes can be addictions. It can sometimes be greed. It can sometimes be, again, like ignoring things that you need to be working on or that you need to be focusing on, and using things to numb you, using things to distract you, being dissatisfied with your life, that kind of stuff. The next card that we have is the 10 of Cups. And this is, I love the energy of this. It's like such a happy card. We've got rainbows, we've got people smiling, happy children, happy family. This is my happy family card. This is my happy future card. Sometimes, this is people feeling joyful, their family being okay. If somebody asks me, is my family going to be okay, or am I going to be okay on the other side of this? This is like, absolutely. There's so much happiness in your future for you. This is like living life with ease. This is feeling surrounded by connections and family and friendships and, romantic relationships or a marriage that makes you happy, that makes you joyful, that adds positively to your life. So like, and so often this will come when somebody's asking about like their future in a relationship, or, is it possible that this person and I will have a relationship with each other someday, or that we could be happy together someday, or how do you feel about this? So, this is a really different energy than some of these other cards. This is absolutely like, I feel good about this. And not only are you guys a positive connection with each other, but I think that there's a lot of opportunity for maybe even to have a family together, to have all of those things, depending on who the person is and what it is that they're wanting or looking for. Now, when it's reversed, this is like, maybe like they're worried about their family, is oftentimes how I take it, or things are just not feeling harmonious within their family right now. Maybe they are just ignoring things and not giving them the attention that they deserve. Like maybe they're kind of hiding their head in the sand. Maybe they're just feeling really dissatisfied, or they're taking things for granted. Maybe they have a really beautiful gift, a really beautiful family in front of them, really beautiful relationships in their life, but they're just so caught up in the story that they're telling themselves, or in this negativity, or how they want that to be rather than how the people in their life actually are. That also is pretty wonderful. And like, they need to kind of recognize their gratitude for what they have. So sometimes it's not seeing what's right in front of your face. It's pretty damn fabulous. So sometimes that will be what we talk about when that card comes up. Let's see. The Page of Cups. Oh, and that sometimes can be like I meant to mention that, like a divorce, or like the ending of a marriage or something like that too, sometimes. So Page of Cups. So again, Page is connected with a new, fresh energy or a childlike energy sometimes. And so like, this is, if you think about the energy of this could be a child who's very intuitive, a child who's very emotional, because the cups tend to be connected with that emotional energy, a child who's very imaginative, that kind of stuff, somebody who's very loving, thoughtful, that kind of energy with the Page of Cups. right? So there's something new. And this sometimes, a lot of times I'll say like somebody new is coming into your life, or there's a new fresh energy coming in regard to your relationships. And depending on the cards around it, I usually can get a sense of like what that is. Is that romantic? Is that, work related? Is that just a connection that you're meant to have, an opportunity that you're meant to have, something new coming in for you?
Is that, do you know offhand the Page of Cups, what sign that might be associated with?
I tend to connect it with, will you connect it with the 3 water signs? But for me personally, I tend to like really be drawn to like Pisces energy with that.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was thinking about that.
popping out.
That's true. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's true. I was just, the way you were describing it though, I was thinking of like Taurian.
Mhm,
I mean, because this cup is Iris,
Oh,
you know.
So
or this
pentacles
page.
overall tend to be connected with Taurus energy because it's Earth. But
Okay.
what I would say to you is like, again, this is all going to come from your frame of reference. So as I'm describing this, if you're like, oh, well, that really makes me think of Iris. When you pull that card, a lot of times it's going to say to you, pay attention to something in connection with Iris, especially if you're pulling that for yourself.
Gotcha.
So yeah, this is exactly when I'm saying to you guys, how does this connect in your life, or who do you connect this to, or what memory do you have that connects with this kind of energy? This is exactly how we begin to like develop and deepen that frame of reference. So that's a great question.
One of her, I think it's her moon sign is Pisces.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So that makes sense. That makes sense with her. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're
Sorry, I
feeling.
didn't mean to get you off track. I'm just
No,
trying to
that's
look at the
okay. That's a
astrology
great
stuff
question.
too.
That's a great question. And we also have like that water energy in the background as well. Again, connecting with like flow and intuition and all of that. And then we have the Knight of Cups. Oh, I'm sorry, the Page of Cups reverse. So that's somebody who tends to be maybe more emotionally immature, right? Their emotions might be in the driver's seat. They might be a little bit more immature for their age. If we're talking about like an adult or something, they might make decisions from their emotions. Maybe they're feeling their creativity blocked. I forgot to mention that this is connected to with creativity, with creative energy as well. So like just allowing that flow, that creative energy to come in. So new creative ideas. And this can be like, you're not really feeling that connected to your creativity, or you're feeling a little bit blocked in regard to these ideas. So then we have the Knight of Cups. Okay. So this is a neat card when I have somebody asking about like, do I have anybody coming into my life, like in terms of a romantic relationship? Because this really is like their knight in shining armor, right? There's a beautiful new energy that's coming in. This is a very romantic energy when we're talking about that. This can be remember, knights are kind of rapid moving energy. So this can be a relationship that comes in, that kind of sweeps you off your feet. And then you're kind of like, well, what the hell happened? That happened really fast. And I didn't even have time to like process that, it usually is an energy that moves really slow. So sometimes when I'm seeing this reverse, I might say to somebody, just pump the brakes, take your time. Even if you want to move fast with this, take your time, because there's a reason that you're being told to take your time. The Knight of Cups, incredibly romantic, dreamer kind of energy, somebody who can be very creative and playful and spiritual and loving and just emotionally supportive. If you think about like your knight in shining armor coming in with like that more feminine, very receptive, very loving energy, right? You're getting kind of the best of that. Now, when we get the reverse, it's like somebody whose emotions are in the driver's seat, are taking over, are becoming a problem. And they're kind of maybe lacking emotional immaturity, or their emotions are creating such a problem that it's really challenging for you guys to continue to move forward. They might be somebody who is incredibly talented, but they also just like are lacking drive and motivation. You know, have you ever met somebody like that who just like you see they have so much potential, but they just are not flowing with it, or they're not taking advantage of the energy, and they're just kind of stuck with that. So they have all these ideas coming through, or they're just very intelligent and they're just very clever and creative and have all these ideas, but they're not moving forward with it. There's not that movement. Knights are movement, right? A moving forward. It can also be like, this is not your knight in shining armor. It might look like it, but this is where you pump your brakes, right? And you just make sure before you race into something that is has the potential to move too quickly. And then all of a sudden you're like, who the hell even are you? The next card that we have here is the Queen of Cups. So the Queen of Cups is so I mean, the Queen of Cups, like if you're pulling this for a female specifically, like she really has mastered a lot in regard to relationships, or she's done a lot of work in regard to relationships outside of herself, or maybe this is self-love, her relationship with herself. As you see, like her dress is built out of water, basically. She is flowy, she is intuitive, she's very similar to that like high priestess kind of energy, where she's receiving messages. She is powerful, yet very, very receptive, constantly receiving intuition. She's very creative and flowy and spiritual and maybe artistic. You know, she is in touch with her emotions, but her emotions don't get the best of her. Now, if this is reversed, the opposite might be true, right? That her emotions really are getting the best of her. Like she could be in a much better place if she just learned how to cope with the emotions, how to make decisions, not from her emotions, but from her spiritual self, from her soul. So you might find like this is somebody that just is very, very emotional. There's a lot of emotional pain, maybe even manipulative with that, but not always. Sometimes it's just somebody who just doesn't know, like they've got all this emotion and they just don't know what to do with it. It's getting them in trouble. It's creating problems for them. And usually this will come up because it's time to figure out solutions for that to move forward so that she can become the Queen of Cups. Because whenever something shows up reversed, especially if it's about us, it's saying that there's potential for that energy. And that's really powerful. So we never want to like discount that because that's coming in, because you know, like for example, with the night energy, it's like somebody with, if this was showing up reverse, somebody with lots of potential, if they would simply choose to like do something about it, do something with these beautiful ideas that are coming through, right? And so if they do choose that, then this card flips over and it's they're connected to this energy as well. So we don't want to like write it off as like, oh, this is reverse, so like you're not that, or this isn't, you know, going to work. But if you get like a bad feeling about somebody, for example, that you're asking about somebody else within a relationship, you know, usually the majority of the time it's not recommended that this person just wait around for this person to like basically get their shit together, right? It's more like, okay, like right now they're not in the place that they need to be in order for this to be a positive relationship for you. Like, do they have the potential for that? Yeah. But are they tapped into that? No. Oh, I lost my handouts. Where did they go? Okay. So this last one that we have here is the King of Cups. So again, we have, you know, the king in the middle of the water, happy little fish jumping behind him. He just, I don't know, like in my card, his face just always looks so kind. This is like, when we think about the king as opposed to like the knight, this is somebody who's like done a lot of work. They've really grown a lot. They've really matured a lot. There's a maturity to the king that the king has that the knight does not have. Okay, so this could represent someone who is more mature in terms of just their wisdom, or you know, they're a little bit older, but just also somebody who has like it really is emotionally balanced. They've learned a lot. They've learned how to be in touch with their emotions and be comfortable with their emotions, but they also don't let them take over. There really is such a balance there with this. And I was, like I said, I just see such kindness in his eyes on my card. I don't know what it is for what it looks like for you guys, but he just, to me, like there's just such a beautiful, loving energy from the King of Cups. It's a, he's not, the King of Cups is not like this loud person. He's very much like, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to feel things out. I'm going to allow my intuition to guide me. So he might be a little bit more shy. He might be a little bit more sit back and watch kind of energy, this King of Cups. And that can be the Queen of Cups a little bit sometimes too, but there's still a confidence. There's still a power. There's a quiet confidence to the King of Cups. The King of Cups tends to be very connected to his creativity. Maybe he even has like used that in some way, shape, or form to make money and to make a solid income on that. Or just like use it to balance his emotions or to help him to be really happy. It can mean that he's moody, but usually to me this is very it's very balanced, and I find it to be the opposite when it's reversed. This to me is like a little bit more that moody energy. When I included like the descriptions in the handouts for you guys, I really tried to like include in there what the traditional meanings say, and then cover with you guys kind of what my meanings are, and where I connect with the traditional meanings with this. So then we have this reverse. So this is, to me, somebody who's not, again, in charge of their emotion, and maybe they are a little bit more mature, but they've never, and maybe they're a little bit more stuck in their ways because they have handled their emotions this way for so long, and they're just not feeling like they're able or willing to step out of that. This can be an issue with an addiction, same with the Queen of Cups reverse. This can be somebody seeking out, another relationship outside of their relationship because they're not feeling as though they're getting their emotional needs met. So there can be kind of an unfaithful energy to the King of Cups reversed, or even two-faced, like he can be one person in one situation and another person in another situation. So
I had heard that there was like a third party kind of card.
Mhm.
What is
That
that?
would be the Three of Swords. Let me show you. You'll see.
Three of Swords.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like if somebody asks me, is my partner having, or I'm concerned about, my partner having an affair or something like this, and I pull the Three of Swords, well, we're going to have probably an uncomfortable situation or a conversation, right? So Three of Swords.
Oh, that's right. The heart, the three in the heart. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's like a stabbing in the back kind
like
of
a
thing.
cheerful energy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it doesn't, but like, so if you're in a happy relationship and you pull this, it doesn't have to mean like that somebody's having an affair. So like, don't freak out. But because sometimes it can just mean like your heart is being pulled in a lot of different directions.
Right. A lot of demands being placed on you.
Demands being placed on you, your heart is feeling really stuck. Maybe they've been through 3 really challenging relationships that have put them in that has really closed off the heart. I mean, there's so many different meanings, but this oftentimes can be a third party energy.
It's just that you had said that about the King of Cups reversed. And I was like, wait a
Yep.
minute, I think there's a card for that.
Yeah. So it sometimes can be like when the King of Cups reversed, it's a little bit more like he tends to be more emotional, right? So it's like seeking out, like a King of Wands reverse can sometimes be that too, right? But the King of Wands, it's more of a physical relationship, whereas the King of Cups is more like needing emotional support, seeking emotional support outside the relationship. So it can actually be an
Gotcha.
emotional affair. It can be an affair that a full affair that provides that's more providing the emotional needs, like that's like the priority or the focus.
Right.
Yeah. So, but again, guys, lots of meanings. So I think like we can learn some things in connection with this and like get really nervous when we pull them. And most of the times it's not that serious, you know? So, you know, like we don't worry too much about that. Does anybody have questions before we wrap up? Anything that's kind of left over with cups or anything else? All right. Well, feel free to include those, post those in the group. Like I said, this week I'm going to be posting some cards with intentions to just, because I've been just like choosing cards myself. Excuse me. And what I want to do is like kind of put a little bit of energy on the cards, because sometimes like that actually assists in the reading process. So we're starting to like tune in to an energy a little bit more. So I'll put intentions with that. So you might feel like really pulled to like one specific area or not. And again, I really encourage you guys to just look at the cards and read it and write what you're going to write about that, and then see what other people have to say, because it might be totally different from what other people are saying, but you're coming at the same situation from a different angle. All right. Well, thank you guys, and keep posting your cards. Keep working on connecting with all of your cards and practicing in the group. This practice is really good. I think if you wanted to, you could start to like just offer small readings to friends that might want that. You might not quite feel comfortable with that because we haven't gone through obviously all of the cards just yet, but you certainly could start to practice with that, and definitely do that within the group, because it's a great place for us to just keep practicing and to do that in a safe way. All right. So thank you everybody so much, and I will see you guys next Wednesday, and I'll see you in the group.
All right. Thank you,
Thank
Kristen.
you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.